Welcome. Everyone's allergic to me. Welcome to the Old Town Hall Committee. We'll start with everybody introducing themselves, starting with Jeannie.
Jeannie Alexander.
Bob Jarvis.
Fred Miller.
And I'm Jenny Dewar. Before we start, I'd like to add to the end of the agenda, before public comment, an open discussion, which we can do because we're not a voting committee. So I did check on that, but we were so careful about what we said last time, and I feel like we don't have to be. We can actually have a conversation. So we'll have an open conversation that's not guided by a specific topic.
Okay,
Does that sound good to everyone?
sounds great.
All right, so I'll just read the agenda. We start with research results. Then we go to discussion of minutes from the special town meetings in 2025 concerning the future of the Old Town Hall. Discussion about original presentation, options pending research, A, options for keeping, options for selling, C, options for demolishing. Let's move the agenda for the next meeting to after public comment. If everyone's okay with that. We'll have our open conversation, public comment, then we'll discuss the agenda and then we'll adjourn. Everyone good with that? All right. So research results. Let's start with Jeannie. You sent us a bunch of stuff, which I haven't had a chance to read any of it. So
It annoys me so much when somebody sends me a bunch of stuff a couple hours before a meeting. I apologize for that.
That's okay.
The thing that annoyed me.
it's okay. If you could give us a little like,
Just an overview. One of the things, you sort of scroll down, okay, sorry. So funny how things get embedded. Yeah, and one of the things that I was researching and looking for was the original estimate for the mold remediation. And so at the bottom of the email where it says there's some relevant information in this folder as well. If you click on it.
I'm sorry, can you, to which email did you send it to me and do you know? Because I can't find it.
Kate sent it to everyone.
Should have been the last. Oh, it's from Kate.
I'm so sorry. I sent it to Kate, so Kate can send it out because
I was looking for your name. Yeah, that's right. I remember.
U35.
Yeah, I actually knew that Kate sent it. Okay, so go on.
yeah, and so it includes the remediation estimate from 2018, and that's from Goldstone Architecture. And that was for $85,000. And then there was a more recent estimate for remediation from 2023 from SurfPro. And the estimate was about $12,000. And then again, we discussed this last time. There's also an estimate to repair the foundation, and that's at about $28,000.
Oh, and that 28 grand, I did look at that too. Just to add to that, the 28,000 did not include engineering costs, so it's.
Oh, so
You
it's
can
just the
almost
planning.
double it.
Okay, yeah. Okay. And also, and Bob, you probably have this anyway, but your presentation that Tara made from 2023 about the reasons, about what should be done with the Old Town Hall.
And to be clear, those are the links to the YouTube video,
Correct.
of the entire meeting.
Yeah.
What I had sent out to everybody was just the PowerPoint.
Right.
Which we'll pull up when we talk about.
So I've got that, and then and like I said, this bottom folder, when you open it, there's just a lot of stuff there. Honestly, it has to do with like energy cost. That's something that came up again as I was reviewing the minutes from the public hearings from those special select board meetings that we had back in April. Questions about, so what is the cost to heat, And so that's included in here. And it looks like high end was about $3,653 for 2022, and then sort of low end was 2,614 for 2024. There are air quality reports. There's a lot in this folder, so it's a lot of information, probably more than I was supposed to find, but it just gives us some extra. The other question that I was trying to answer was the deed to the new town hall. And I have not obtained that yet, but as I recall, and please correct me if I'm not remembering this poorly, but one of the reasons that came up last time was because there was a question about whether or not the old town hall is in some way involved with the litigation concerning the church and the carriage house. And there has been like some rulings recently, court rulings, and it really looks like that's not an issue at all. But the only question is the carriage house in addition to the church. Still happy to grab that deed. Do you want?
Now, the second ruling, you said there was no question at all about?
That it wasn't addressed at all, but the only issue of contention seemed to be the carriage house and not really, it's really the church building.
Mhm.
But it wasn't even brought in the notion of whether or not there was a claim to be made about potentially the old town hall. I've read the most recent opinion. There's nothing in that about it. So
About the old town hall, but,
Yes, sorry, we were asking the same. So the old town hall is not connected to the church in any way, including the land?
the question about the land goes back to whether or not, like the land that the church is sitting on, right, is separable, but not the old town hall. That doesn't seem to be the issue at all.
the way I've always read it, the land, other than the carriage barn,
Right.
all the other land of the town hall and the church is on, was a shared ownership.
That's what was always my understanding, but I can't back it up with anything.
What I've seen in the most recent court document is not a question about whether or not the church also has a claim to all of this land. It seems to be very focused on the church building.
So the question is so regardless of what the church is asking for or going for, is the land one parcel? That the old town hall and the church sit on, is it one parcel or would it need to be subdivided?
I think there would need to be, I think an issue of severability would have to be addressed. But that's also not impossible.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that would just be a rider
Yeah,
or something.
right.
That's the same thing I got from the
Yeah.
realtor who's gonna do a deeper dive into it. Lily West is working on it, of Maple Leaf Realty. Lily West or Lily Williams? Lily West, I think is her last name now. And so she's looking into that piece of it, but she said, as far as subdividing there's a cost associated with it, but that's not insurmountable to subdivide it at all.
Right.
And she said that, as far as I asked about the well for the firehouse, there can always be an easement made. If the old town hall was released to someone else, then there can be an easement that makes that well continue to be part of the firehouse, in perpetuity.
Mhm.
And then, same thing with the repeater, the repeater can also be moved. None of these things that we have been presented as being insurmountable issues are insurmountable issues. And as far
I think it's safe to say that they're all pretty minor.
yeah.
The one thing that we need to address also is, and just to ease anybody's mind, is that center stone, which I think is just a rider or an easement or whatever you call it on the lease, or whoever purchases the property, whatever you end up doing with
Yeah.
it. Make sure that that's.
You can make any,
Intact.
we can make any.
So you can do anything like that.
Easements or tools like that. So can you make all of the information that we've gathered up available with the minutes and everything, so that if people want to see these links and go look at it, that they can?
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
So I think in the last meeting, we questioned that, if you look at certain maps, everything is shown like this is connected to that as one huge lot.
Mhm.
That's why we were looking for deeds
Right.
and property lines.
Right.
I think we still need to define those,
Okay.
including
And I think it is one huge lot. I think it's one, but okay.
including the carriage barn, which is,
Yeah. And there would be a cost associated with separating the two. That Lily's researching the cost that it would be. if we were to do that, but again, we're either pouring money into the old town office or we're pouring money into something else.
One question is, might be premature. If, it's recommended to the town to dispose of property, the town office to sell it. Is there anything that would indicate that, perhaps the church would get the right to first refusal?
I haven't seen anything like that.
Yeah, okay.
No.
And I don't know that the church is even interested in.
No.
Haven't heard anything about there being an interest there.
Yeah, I'm not aware of that. One of the issues that came up in the minutes, again, I'm just gonna refer to them as the 2 April meetings, similar to the open meetings. I don't know about you guys, but I found them going back through them again and reading them. I thought it was really interesting to go back and the issue of having a new survey done was also brought up as a potential need in that discussion. And I'm not saying I think we need to do that. I think surveys are expensive.
Well, you don't really tell you much either.
They don't.
Unless you're having somebody come in and do a scientific poll and that sort of thing.
Right.
They're just so
Oh, no.
ridiculous to easily.
A land survey.
So-
Yeah, yeah, no, I agree. That is right.
I thought we were gonna ask again.
No, that's already been done and 7 people answered. Yeah.
I'm looking for what Lily said.
Yeah, exactly how much.
Subdividing land is usually straightforward, depends on the local zoning and if the parcels meet minimum lot size requirements. She said it can cost 5,000 to 10,000 to do so depending on what's involved. And she's gonna look into that and ask a surveyor about it. So she'll be able to get that information to us.
Great.
She's just been moving offices and her computer just got put in today, so she's gonna have that for us at the next meeting.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. And she's checking on the well easement for the fire department, Peter for the wastewater. That's usually something that can be worked out, but I need to confirm the specifics on that parcel. And she asked me to send her the addresses, which I did. So we'll have more info from her.
In case, I just sent you a zip file with it had all of those documents in that one folder. So that'll be easy. Hopefully it's easier to look at.
Thank you. So that's the research results. Do we have other, we don't, that was it. That was for
We're
the.
gonna watch Bob's presentation. Is that
Yeah.
something you want to make available for the?
Yeah, because we do, it says discussion of original presentation, but first we were just gonna discuss the minutes. So is there more to discuss about the minutes? Does anyone have anything they want to point out? I just made notes like,
Oh, the April minutes.
yeah, we said a discussion of the minutes from the special meetings. I mean, I have responses to some of the things people said, but I feel like that's sort of unfair. What if I'm gonna just retort to what someone says that I disagree with without them here to have a conversation?
I
But
mean, I don't know, do we want to do this now? Or sort of like during just sort of the open dialogue conversation at the end, because I mean, going back over the minutes again and did sort of I don't know that I don't think it's accurate to say it changed sort of like my thought process around this, but it helped sort of refine it a bit. And I don't know if we want to talk about that now or if we want to save that for our conversation.
actually, maybe that makes sense to save it for the open conversation, because then it's really commenting on what people had to say. I mean, I don't know how much more discussion we need to have about the minutes. We all reread them. Any thoughts on that? Anyone have a problem with saving that for a conversation at the end?
I'm fine with saving it.
Okay. Let's move on then. And if we could pull up Bob, we'll call it your presentation, even though it was you. The select.
I was going to give you the
you were on.
presentation, but the board worked on.
Yeah, the PowerPoint that Bob presented that the board worked on.
So, here, if you can go, I'm gonna go up and point. You're sheet Dave. All right, so sorry about that. That's okay. You go to the first one and then go to the presentation mode. You know, then.
I think I just got it, but it's on.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah,
You know, if you turn your volume up, it actually,
it's gonna make me echo though. If I turn this volume on.
oh, because that's actually a,
Have sound.
it does have sound. It was recorded so that we could play it on a loop on our website and that's what we did.
Got it.
You
So,
can try and I'll just be very quiet. We'll see what it does.
to be on the first page, right? Just hit that play button. A long time. Very clear, both here and I'm very excited, but I hope the town is excited. You know, I'll walk through some of the reasons why we have all our costs in our current town hall are, and why it is more cost effective to get in a town hall than it is to stay in our current town hall. We have some serious risks and serious problems with our town hall that could and almost certainly will.
All right, it's getting,
Yeah.
let's
I think if you.
jump off of that and maybe just, you can,
I'm sorry.
no, it's not your
Worried
fault.
about maybe
Yeah.
having one laptop versus the other.
Yeah. But if you can, because you know this presentation very well, so you can take us to the really relevant spots.
It's been a long time, so.
Yeah, I mean,
I'll,
a few things
I'll
that
get this
definitely
going.
jumped out to me. But
You can just tell me and I'll skip through the slides as you'd like.
oh, sure, and that might be a little bit quicker, and I'm gonna get up, so if I can move over here and see what we're actually talking. So here we were just presenting with the old schoolhouse, the proposal of an old schoolhouse onto a manufactured building. And the other things that we were gonna put in here, are just, 3678 square feet, what we needed, and really push the old schoolhouse. So wanted to make that very clear to everybody that schoolhouse was part of this. Better fire protection, history center will attract visitors, some salesman points, then we can go. And then we get into the cost. So we had our estimated cost, which, we're past that now. But our total estimated cost was initially $775,000. We took $175,000 and we went to the bond with $600,000. We still only have the $600,000 bond. We never borrowed more money for it, but we did spend more, and we spent it out of the ARPA funds and we spent it out of other funds. There were other ways to pay for that. Since then, we went with a 20-year versus a 30-year. One to get the town out from under it by 2041, which is pretty close. And we saved on both the percentage points and of course the 10 years of payments saved us $124,000 on the bond. So that was the purpose for going that way. I want to talk about this because we got it on the screen. Our tax change estimate was simply how much that was going to be for the bond divided by the number of parcels and how much it would be per parcel. This is illegal. You can't charge it by the parcel. It had to be a valuation, just like it should have been. And as that went on, I backed at the valuation method also, because we had some people who had 10 parcels that totaled 300,000 and other people who had one parcel and it was 1.5 million. Yet this person was gonna pay this 10 parcels $250 versus 25. So it really, it did the evaluation was better. But anyway, that's what we went with. Let me go to the next one, I'm sorry. And here was the mold and remediation. We had mold and mold remediation. It was ongoing in the old town hall. We had to continually have the blowers on. We had to bring people in on occasion. So we went, and you'll see it in the subsequent slides, is we itemized some of the costs and kept a running total of everything. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
fine.
in front of you.
Yeah, no, do you all want to come to the table?
And then, of course, size. Everybody who's used the other thing is, with or without the mold, we needed a new town hall. It was cramped, no private meeting spaces, all those good things, and of course, long-term costs. So, and again, the risks, health and safety of town employees, risk of legal action. The state may require alternate facilities, and you can see that with some of the documents that some of those older documents had some pretty dire predictions and status of the old town hall. On. And then we start getting into the costs. So this is what we spent on the old town hall over time. And this crawl space mold remediation. I don't know why that's 90,000 when it was when we had 85,000, but that was we always thought it was 90,000. And then just more air purifiers, how much we spent on those and those sorts of things. Let me go on. Was this the next one? This is sorry. Yeah. So and then the other costs, we purchased a lot on Center Street, the removal of Martell's Lodge, and a lot of the other things totaling just under $59,000. And we took it some ballot articles that didn't make it. I'm not sure why I brought back to this. I remember I did this slide twice, but I don't remember why. I had a reason for that. We can move on to this. And we talked about Powell Heritage, and that this, by the way, was that other document that was there. That's the best we could interpret. Some good old information, some good historical information.
And that was about using the schoolhouse.
That was about using the schoolhouse. Well, we're talking about the old schoolhouse that was built. And it really is wonderful to see that in here. And I neglected to say it last time, I'm gonna say it this time. This was all Pauline Tumpo's vision. She's the one that initially thought of how do we save that old schoolhouse? What do we do with it and put it on here? And she worked with some other or the organization that did I forget the name of the organization, that did the manufacturing portion. She had used them in some of her other projects. And so she married those two things and came up with this proposal. Oh, just when and where for the vote. That's going on. And what the ballot article looked like when we first did it. And then what it is. Yeah. One more. And the unveiling of the new town hall, and that was it.
Yes. I mean, I remember that presentation and that's what sold me on supporting it. All of the things that your whole presentation and especially the mold and, all of that. I was Fred and I both together actually were very active in supporting building the new town office. And because of.
I get the mold issue, totally do, I get it. But I kind of wish, and this is probably not even relevant, that the mold had not even been an issue, right, for building the new one because it was needed. That's one of the things that's pretty clear to you coming back to this is like, people didn't have any space. I know how well people use their offices in here, like people do need the ability to.
It would have been a sell for the
Yeah.
people of Pownell.
No, and I saw that it's voted down before. I did see that
Yeah.
research.
Several.
It was voted down many, many times. They've been trying to build a new town office for years and, the voters.
Yeah.
Were less concerned about the staff needing space. We also had a smaller staff at the time.
Yeah.
Because we didn't have two. So it was the mold
Yeah.
that pushed the vote to.
Yeah, no, that seemed pretty clear to me, like
So,
from some of the articles too that were written at the
Mhm.
time.
and I mean, I don't, even with that whole presentation, had the mold not been a part of it, I can tell you, I probably would have voted no. Because it's expensive,
No, I get it. It was really expensive.
but,
Yeah.
you know, especially when there was the threat of legal action because of the mold.
That was the big, I think
That
that's.
was pretty
what
huge.
People, but it was real. I mean, we
Yeah.
could have been kicked out at any point, and from our town staff at the time, they had done some pricing, and had we been kicked out, it would have been an immediate thing like 225 to 250,000
Yeah.
to get temporary housing while we tried to get the town hall approved and built for a completely different guy. That would have been over and above everything else. So, but I'm with you. I think we needed a new town hall. We should have.
We did. I agree.
With or without the mold. But I would also caution on the mold on the old building, because one of the things that we've been hearing is that there's less mold in it, less because there's fewer people using it. If
Right,
you get people back into the building, you're gonna have the issue again.
Right.
So we need to be careful with that.
Certainly getting people back in there full time. It also sounds like there was, well, it's in your presentation partially anyway, remediation was done. There were things that were done to that building to help with the mold issue and the mold problem. So I kind of do understand why we're getting a different estimate now for mold. But again, like you're saying, however, if we were to like ramp up use again,
well, I mean, all the paper that was in there that's not there anymore is gonna.
yeah.
Well, with this particular project, it was really urgent.
Yeah.
There was a sense of urgency.
Yeah.
that we didn't have any other time that we voted on town hall.
Yeah.
And it was, people like me that don't usually worry about health hazards anywhere. I was concerned about it for the sake of the people and working in buildings, so.
Well, and then if you were to rewind, I think I mentioned this as the last one, rewinding, we actually had people, but I don't know if it was because we planted that in their brains. But we had people who would go in and research things and work in there for hours that said they had to get up and go outside for a while because the air quality was so bad. How much of that is, I can't tell you how much of
Yeah.
that is valid versus how much of that was, if you tell somebody that the air is bad, they're
Right.
gonna.
So, yeah, I don't think there was I'm the one who said, I feel like we were duped if there's no issue with the mold, and I don't think we were duped. I think there's different.
Definitely a mold issue.
There was a mold issue that's less of an issue now. But it was a big part of all of the discussions and all of the decisions about how to vote. So that was the argument for building this new town office. I don't think any of us regret having this here. I'm not looking back and being like, why did we do that at all? So our charge is to figure out what to do with the old town office, but I think the history of it is important to have revisited. So unless we have more about that presentation, I'm suggesting we move on. Options pending research, but I don't know that we have, well, these are the options. There's an option for keeping and doing something with it. There's an option for selling it. There's an option for demolishing it.
There's another option too,
Which is?
that came up in the minutes, just like, and I was a couple of times, and what was interesting is I'd sort of been thinking about it, and that is the option to rent it. And I get the whole idea, like, nobody's gonna wanna rent this space, but I think there is the option of, and as long as we're considering options, I think we should consider
Yeah.
it all.
Sure.
One option would be if there were an organization. So hypothetically, we're all really excited about the town forest, and like the proposals and like there's a lot that we'd like to do as a town and to make use of that town forest, right? A lot of people interested in recreation. There's a liability issue. So one of the things that's pretty clear is there's going to have to be a 501(c)(3) that can like apply for grants. And so that we have less liability. So I'm thinking like if there's an organization, like if there were a nonprofit to deal with the forest land, or if there was another organization in town who would be willing to take over what we're spending on electric, on heating, on everything else. And even if it's just sort of like a whatever, lease it for $1 a year or $1 a month or something. You see what I'm saying? And I don't have any organization in mind. I'm just saying that is one of the options that came up a couple of times in these minutes. And I began to think about it because I was also thinking, well, either we keep it and do something with it, or keep it and mothball it. I believe Carl said that, right? That was my keep it and do nothing with it in case someone in the future wants to, or keep it and lease it or tear it down. And so I still think if we think property is sellable, then I would think it's also leasable.
Can a municipality be a landlord?
I was thinking about that too. I'm not sure.
I don't know.
I
mean, that's the
bet, I
question.
bet the answer is no.
If it was a lease, like, for example, this is making me think about the church a little bit, right? The idea of like, one proposal was like, well, why don't you just like, why can't we not just like come to an agreement and lease the church building to the congregation for $1.50 years, for $1, you know what I'm saying?
That there's,
I'm thinking like, it's still the town's property, but allowing another organization to make use of it.
Yeah.
And say, okay, you're not buying this, we'll allow you whichever club to make use of it.
that's something to research to see if it's even legal. Although I'm thinking the town of Bennington owns the old blacksmiths
Mhm.
Building. There was also the police station, and the Better Bennington Corporation lives in there rent free. But the town owns it, and the town actually ended up taking over the whole second floor, so they were holding on to it, and they moved over into it. But there was another organization in there, with ACT, and I don't know if they paid rent, and if they did, who did they pay rent to? So that's something I'll check with them, because is leasing legal? I'll check with Bennington.
So I think if we're, I still think it's these three options, right? Keeping, selling, demolishing.
Right.
But under keep, one option is lease.
Right.
Yeah, and selling,
To
and
extent.
another option under selling is to quit claim it. Which is essentially giving it away.
Yes, that's true.
Because you can quit claim for $1, you can claim for free.
And that's where my question about it being jointly owned, historically jointly owned,
Mhm.
whether the church would be the first option to look to have a conversation with them. For a 1,000-year lease for $1 a year, or quit claiming it, rather than spend the 10,000 or so to subdivide the land,
Yeah,
just quit.
and that also would require the town to come to terms with the church and
Right.
let go of
Yeah.
battling over it,
Yeah,
which is a whole
yes,
other,
Right,
which I think we can get to for sure. And well, we can move into our discussion now, our open discussion. So
kind of weirds me out
if we felt like we couldn't talk about it, I think we have to.
to have a municipal government at odds with the church.
Yeah,
I just want to be careful.
Yeah.
I want us to be able to talk freely here, but we're talking about the old town hall and
Right.
we think should be done with it. I do think that having a discussion about the church in our official capacity as a committee right now
Mhm.
is outside of
Right.
sort of what our charge has been.
But this is the open
That's-
discussion part
Right,
where
but is it an open discussion about anything we want to talk about or like what we're supposed to?
Well, it is, and as far as the church is connected to the old town office in terms of the land. So we really need the answer about the dividing the land.
Yeah, that's
to
great.
see how realistic that is, you know. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think where Fred's going is if they are tied together because of the land, then if the town is to settle with the church and let go of the church.
it was mentioned that we can't sell it for various reasons. And I assumed that one of the reasons was,
It is not my understanding,
Yeah, so-
the litigation is taking place, that church is asserting any claim over. Then I would town hall.
But there was, on the board, there was the impression that, or the understanding that that was all one parcel, and that's why we couldn't sell the old town hall. Which then it became out that, well, actually, that's not that big of a hurdle.
Right,
You can just divide it out and sell
right,
it.
and that's what I was thinking.
Then I think
So
we're
Yeah.
going to get involved in the church part of it,
yeah,
but
Yeah.
I think it was fair to.
the only reason it was there is because that was a reason that we couldn't sell it, and
Yeah.
and I think we debunked that, right?
I think that's debunked.
Mhm. No, I think it's sellable.
And then that would be, I mean, I feel like if we were to give it away or sell it or whatever, then it comes, they take it as is and that they have to pay the engineering costs but they get this property very inexpensively, and then the only thing the town would have to pay for is the separation of the land. Does that
That makes.
ring true to everybody?
No, I hear that. Like, one of the things that I think that we still have on the table is a possibility, like here are the options, the demolish option. Going back over the notes, the minutes again from the April meetings. I mean, I would not support that option. I think that people have some very strong feelings about the fact that it is a historical building and people can argue about whether or not it is, and if it's only part of the building or all of the building. But there certainly did seem to be a lot of very strong thoughts and not just feelings, right? Because I don't know that feelings should just drive our decision, but like thoughts around the importance of protecting a historical building. And I think it would be wildly unpopular for a lot of people in town for us to say demolish it.
I agree.
I get that it's still on the table. I just want to say, to be completely honest and transparent.
was it entirely historical or partially historical? Like, I think it's evolved
Right.
down to the cube shaped in the
Right.
front. That's the historical
Yeah.
part.
Yeah, because there was an additional
Demolishing
filter on
everything
it,
else.
so.
Right.
Well, that whole room that we met in for select board meetings and other meetings, that's all new.
Yeah.
That was all new and not very well done, I guess.
Yeah,
That's money that the town would have to spend to demolish.
yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Personally, that's not a option that I would want to push for the town to demolish it. If we were to suggest that the town sells it or leases it or whatever, well, leasing wouldn't, but if they decide to sell it, would it come with a caveat that the buyers are not allowed to demolish it? Can you make that?
Personally, I wouldn't put that rider on there. I mean, if somebody's gonna buy the property, hopefully it's
Tear
to
it
do
down.
something with it. Not just to tear it down and maybe build something, but maybe they do want to tear it down and build something else. But it's gonna be harder to sell if you start putting more and more restrictions on what
True.
you can do with the property. To me, and it's also, I mean, if you sell it and somebody finds a great use for it, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
But there is always the risk that somebody bought it just for the land.
Yeah,
Couldn't take it down. I,
although it's unlikely, it's not like it's prime land. It's not like, I mean,
who's gonna
it's
build?
not a huge amount of land, so no one's gonna come in and demolish and build a mansion there.
Well, no, I wasn't thinking about a house. I was thinking more like if somebody wanted to come in and if we're successful in revitalizing the town center.
Yeah.
And we start getting little ice cream stores and
Sure.
somebody might want to put, some kind of small building.
Sure.
Or business.
Right, so they're,
Yeah.
so I agree, yeah, you're right. I don't think,
I think it's a possibility, right?
Yeah.
What somebody does with it when they buy it is gonna be.
It's really not our business.
Well, that's comes down to like, how would we go about evaluating building itself, structure? You know, if it comes down to that, it's just a piece of land, because you're talking about subdividing it out,
Mhm.
that piece of land that goes with it. So it's a smaller piece of land than is currently on the map. What are you saving and what are you spending in order to save that?
Well, I think you're also spending to save the money that we'd be spending on the town office if we
Right.
keep it forever.
That's true.
So it's spending money to not have to spend more money.
I mean, remember,
If you're spending 10,000 to subdivide that lot,
Right.
is that what's left with that building? If the building has no value, it's just the land, is that piece of land worth $10,000?
Oh. Oh, I can't imagine it wouldn't be. I mean, because the building is not worth
This
zero.
lot was 60. So
660?
60, right? It wasn't, that was.
Back in the day. Yeah. No, I mean, I don't think that that building is worth less than $10,000. I mean,
The building.
the way real estate is right now, I mean, if someone was to buy it as for anything, that would be a steal.
Just the lot does have water and sewer, so that
Right.
makes it a more valuable lot.
Yeah, so I would say that, I mean, we could, if we suggested that, that we sell it, that we say at least for a minimum of whatever it costs us to do the work that it takes to subdivide the land. So we don't sell it for $1 or lease it for $1. We'd have to get that money back.
An estimate from the realtor that you spoke with about.
No, but I'll ask her.
And and some of these are gonna be cascading too, right? If our decision is to sell it and it doesn't sell, then our number two decision is gonna be to, quit claim or demolish. You got a couple of those other.
I can't imagine it would sell in this environment, like a house on my road I sold my house, it's all public, anyone can look it up. I sold my house on North Pownell Road. I think it was for like $365. And that was a 4-bedroom, 3-bath, 5-acre house. Looks like a ranch, but it actually has a downstairs. This house that just sold on my road now is half the size, half the acreage, right on the road, not even a long driveway, and sold for $340. And that's only like 2-3 years later.
I think you're right. Real estate is worth a lot, but that's real estate in general.
Right.
Those are dwellings. This isn't. You
But it
can't
could
live in
be.
it. Well, yeah, but not without a lot of, not without a lot of effort.
If so- I would love to live in a tiny house. I mean,
Somebody might buy it for.
tiny houses are big right now and it's not even, it could totally be renovated to be a
Yeah.
lodging, a home. And even a business, it would be a very inexpensive business. Someone wanted to buy it for that.
I'm personally hoping for a coffee shop.
Coffee shop, that would be nice.
You want a coffee shop so bad. Oh, but yeah.
Maybe I just want a coffee. I'm not sure.
Maybe just coffee, yeah.
So, I mean, how much do we even need to talk around this? Like, I feel like we have kind of a consensus of what we want to recommend to the board now. Yeah, let's open it up.
Yeah, and I don't-
Comment.
I don't know that we
We don't have
we
consensus?
may have a majority vote. I don't know that we have a consensus vote yet.
Yeah, okay.
Because I am still not, and
Well, we don't even need a vote. We just need to
Right.
offer them, like, we need to, we don't have to say, we think you should do X.
Yeah.
We can go back and say, if you want to do this, you can do X. If you want to do this, it can be Y. It can be, we can give them options and ideas of what to do, because we don't get to decide.
Right.
What?
Sandra Wild, I live right across the street. I just wanted to I wanted to see if I could get some clarification. If we sell, what kind of influence does the town have in terms of what does get built there? Like, you were mentioning a mansion, and obviously it wouldn't be a very big mansion, but is there any kind of,
Well, there's a zoning,
so the zoning?
there's a zoning officer.
There's the issue of one of the things we talked about, and Bob, you were saying that you would, right, not be for, but the idea potentially of a historical overlay or something like that. That could, so just thinking and all big world of possibilities, like what kind of influence could the town? And I am not a realtor, and I don't practice real estate law, but I do know that historical overlays can be helpful sometimes in preserving historic spaces, and Vermont certainly has that. And so I think that there's that possibility along with zoning.
Yeah, that's well, it's a good question. I don't know how much control we can or should have on that. And of course, the more control that the town exerts, the less likely it's going to sell.
And as a neighbor, I understand your question, but I don't think it's not that big of a space. So, and you can't build like a 10-floor apartment building here. I think that's against zoning laws. I don't know what the limit is. Do you know?
I don't, but I think, but I know it's.
It's more than
it's
2
gotta
or
be
3.
less. And of course, anybody who's gonna put anything in there is gonna have to go through the DRB.
Yeah. So there isn't, it's not this wide open field of whatever anyone wants to do. You have, there are definitely requirements.
The limiting factor would mostly be water and sewer. Probably. Unless you have something with, to be compatible with neighboring structures and stuff.
Yeah, it's on town sewer, isn't it on town septic? Yeah.
I think so.
I think that's
And plus it
correct.
has water, it has its own water.
Well, it has the
Well,
well.
it has the well, but do they share the well then?
They share the well with the firehouse.
Firehouse, yeah.
Firehouse has access to that well. You can always dig a new well. I mean,
Yes.
people.
Well,
do
that's
that
true,
all
but
the time.
it's worked as shared for
Yeah,
decades. So I don't think a new user or a new owner is gonna
And
care.
plus the fire department wants to build a new place.
that's what it is, exactly. That's where I'm going with that. If the fire department gets money to build a new firehouse, then they could add in a new well to that, but I don't think the easement for sharing the well is not an issue. Is it really hot in here? Am I turning red?
Address extra one.
Is that, I mean, that's not exactly the most precise answer to your question, and I totally get exactly where you're coming from. I would definitely not, yeah, living.
It's not so much being a neighbor, it's more sort of the character of the town. I mean, we
Yeah,
already have so
exactly.
many, let me say, no. Not pretty homes around here that I wouldn't want to see one smack in the middle of historic town. I, you know, I don't know how long.
I understand that.
Well, it's also, and not to push and we didn't talk about it a lot, but not to push the demolish, because I'm not,
Right.
I think selling is the right way to go. But once you start talking about taking it down, now you've got a bunch of other options, like turn it into parking. There was a parking issue.
right.
Or a splash pad for kids or picnic tables. I mean, there's a lot of things you can do if that was just a vacant lot. I'm not suggesting the vacant lot, but I don't want us to not mention it either.
Right.
You gotta
Yeah.
put these things on the
You're right.
table. So,
And if it were a vacant lot, right, then it doesn't also have to be like, well, if it were a vacant lot, it doesn't mean we sell the lot. It means that the town could be creative. And like you said, splash pads or a small outdoor theater or.
So you could, we could suggest, I mean, we could say that one of the ideas on the table is you could demolish it and create something out of the land.
We even take some of if the materials are salvageable, I think it's fairly sound. I mean, I've been there, it's not big, but it seems like to build something else or to import, I don't know.
Well, and we also know that you can actually pick up a building and move it. If you want to preserve the history, that's what we did with the schoolhouse. So, see, personally, I'm just not that sentimental, about. Our country is only 250 years old. It's not, I mean, the history. It's not the south of France. You know what I mean? Like, so but that's me. And so that's not, that's just a personal thing. And so, and it's not me having strong feelings about it. It's just that I don't have strong feelings about it.
I do have strong feelings about historical preservation, so I get exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
Oh, but also on the other hand, I think it's really.
Like if we
Didn't
kept all the buildings that were built back in the 1700s, then, and we didn't allow new builds, like where would we be? So,
Were you in Pownell when we were arguing about whether to demolish the Bartow Lodge or not?
Yeah, I was
I
gonna.
think that was before my time. What year?
Don't
A
remember
couple
when
of
it
years
was
before we
finally.
got on the board, and we had it, it's in
I may
that
have-
presentation, because it talked about the Bartels Lodge and what the cost.
Yeah, do you remember what year it was? Because I moved in 2006. So I know that there's still some, it was earlier than that. I know that there's still some salty feelings about the Bartel Lodge coming down.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
well, and that's what you're trying to avoid with.
Yeah. I'm trying to avoid
At
the,
least one
there are a lot
vote.
of feelings and I get it. A lot of people have lived here, not just their entire lives, but generations and generations. They're-
Absolutely. And I respect that and I get that. And I'm not putting down anyone's feelings about being sentimental about historical. It's just, it's not something I,
It's not something that resonates with you.
right, that's all. And so I'm just being honest about that. That's all. But that said, I'm still not pushing for it to be demolished because of the people who do have strong feelings about the historical nature of it. And so I would like to see for the people who feel strongly about it, that, you know, certain aspects of it need to remain.
Also not, I think it needs to be said here also. Preserving historical property does not mean that it has to be government ownership.
Right.
Because there are so many historical property, look at Old Bennington.
Right.
All of those houses are
Yeah.
historical properties.
Yeah.
And some of them have things like, well, look at that catamount structure out in front of that, the one at the bottom of Memorial there. Where,
The old tavern.
yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
Monument, that's what I meant.
Yeah, no, totally.
That's a good.
I mean, I'm like super excited about the Loomstick Inn being, you know,
Yeah, but notice that came around as private, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't because government scooped it up and paid for it. It's
Exactly.
because somebody saw it and their heart opened up and they
And
wanted
they are willing
to
to
rescue
renovate
the
it.
building.
put it back as an old inn. It's gonna be amazing. But right, that's exactly right. I just don't, this is where we agree. I don't feel like government should mix with that. I don't feel that leasing is a viable thing, because I don't think that the town should be a landlord. You have a rotating select board. Who's then in charge? A staff member? That's not right. I mean, we don't have a town manager or town administrator here, so
That's true.
who's in charge if you do that? And so I think that's actually a really bad idea.
I think it's gonna require more and more focus by the town, making town government expansion.
Exactly, which we can't afford in Pownell. We only have 3,000 people.
And
And I also feel the same way about us, create, the original thing that came up about the town running a community space. I think that that's really bad idea. Because who oversees it? It takes a lot of energy to oversee a property. I'm a property manager. And I run events and it's a lot of work. Running Merchants Park with where the splash pad is and that stage, there was a whole lot of rigmarole about who was in charge of the stage. And when I was at Better Bennington, they said, "Oh, you're in charge of the stage." I said, "Why am I in charge of the stage? I'm not a scheduler for a stage." And so I pushed it back, and
I do think we have community spaces though. I think that is.
we have plenty of community space.
Meeting. I think we have
Yeah,
a good number of
Yeah.
community spaces,
not to mention this one.
not to mention this one.
And I think this is,
more frequently utilized.
and it should be, that was another thing we were sold on for it. And so that one of the things I did pick up, and I won't say who said it, but someone was talking about how it can be disruptive to have a meeting going on here. Well, okay, wear earplugs because this town office that we paid for belongs to us. And all respect for the staff, but staff comes and goes. It doesn't belong to the staff. It belongs to the people of Pownell. And we were told that this was gonna be a meeting space and the seniors should be able to meet here.
Those
And
office
anyone else.
cubicles are separated by that breezeway that comes
Yeah.
across here, so
Yeah.
there's plenty of.
And you can easily put in some acoustical treatment to make it more soundproofed if that's an issue. And then there would just be parameters that it can only be used during business hours.
I wanted to say, I second that. I think this room is so lovely and beautiful.
I agree.
I think, it's hard to beat,
Yeah,
whatever gets built over there, so I think it really should be used much
Yeah.
more.
Yeah.
And, I.
When our
I don't
Congress-
See how much it's used, and I think it could really be used
Totally.
today and.
Yeah.
when our congresswoman came to speak, it was a well-attended meeting. There were tables set up in here. The spaces are bigger when you put furniture in them than they are when they're in. So I don't know what the capacity, does anyone know what the capacity of this room is?
It's fine.
So I mean, but so whatever meeting you allow in here has to meet that capacity. So, okay, so having that, keeping that and having a community, running a community space by some phantom person in the town office is not something I think we should put on the table.
I agree with that.
So. Oh, one thing I had thought, or I didn't think of it, Megan Randall said it. What if we were to sell it to Habitat for Humanity? And let Habitat for Humanity renovate that.
I don't know that Habitat would want to touch that, honestly. I think we would maybe even have more luck selling it if we were to say, if we were to shop for it. If the town were to say, we're looking for a coffee shop to open, I mean, because it's really quaint, like, there are, but I don't know that.
I think what the town can do is say that they're happy to sell it and that they can't decide who buys it.
Right.
But can they decide if they want to sell it only to a business or if they want to sell it as a residence? I don't know.
My recommendation would be, if we're gonna sell it, put it for sale and see who's interested.
Yeah.
I wouldn't, I wouldn't market to businesses, I wouldn't market to
Just,
residential, I'd just say it's for sale and look at all the things you can do with it. I mean, you can put all of those on the same flyer. It could be a business, it could be a house. It could be a splash pad.
yeah. And then back to saying, or auction.
Well, I thought of that too, or an auction or I was thinking, what was the other one? I was thinking about the drive-in here. If the town decided to sell it, they could do all kinds of things. There could be some sort of this huge raffle where you have to get at least
At least,
100,000 or maybe at least 50,000, and then somebody's gonna win it, and you might end
And
up.
what do you do with all that extra money? But yeah, or if you do an auction, say, start at the price of whatever it takes to do the separation of the land. So the starting bid of the auction has to be $20,000.
Yeah, and plus whatever other costs are associated with selling.
Right.
The other thing and of course, whether we quit claim it, sell it, and all that other stuff, you get it back on the tax rolls.
Yeah,
So just something to think about.
definitely. That's a huge thing to think about.
Are there any other comments or questions from our?
So where do we go from here? I think we have, we need to find out the cost about separating the land. So that's the big thing. Need to find out if it's legal for a municipality to lease a property. And we need an estimate of the value. So I guess that's all my homework. Right?
I don't think it has to all be your homework.
Well, it's just I have contacts. I mean, because I'm the one already talking to the realtor. So she can give me an estimate of the value. Bennington, I can reach out to Bennington and ask about that blacksmith's office. And so that's a simple question because were they leasing it to if they were leasing it to that other company that was in there when I was in there, then the answer is that yes, you can. But they paid everything. They paid her we did. Is that true? Yeah, I don't think we didn't pay for electricity or anything. So
That's what I was thinking. If we did
I'll
sound
pay for all of it.
the lessee could pay for all of that.
Right.
Okay,
And then what was the third thing I said?
that's what I was just thinking.
The estimate of the value.
Oh, yes, cost of severability, can we leave?
Oh, cost of the-
Value of the property.
Cost of the, right. All right, is there anything else we need to research on?
The other option, I don't think we mentioned it. Sorry to keep thinking about options, but it was, again, it was in the minutes, and that was the option to do nothing. Close it down, to mothball it, to
Oh,
do nothing.
mothball it.
Mothball it.
That's a keep option.
Yep. That's a keep, but you do nothing with it. You don't spend money on it. You don't renovate it.
So what do you,
Wait until a
you
future.
winterize it so you don't have to pay for heat? How do you, what do
I
you?
think it would be, I don't know, minimal heat or winterize it, do something like that. But the idea, the suggestion to,
You would be doing things like draining the pipes.
Yes.
So that they don't freeze, that, you make it so it can freeze.
Which preserves it.
Destroy anything.
right, exactly. And that would preserve it for some future time if residents.
For someone else to have to deal with.
Or if
The
residents.
next select board to have to create a committee and say, what do we do?
That is also an option we forgot to bring up.
Yeah, I guess that option is there, but it seems like that's just kicking the can down to me.
I think it's kicking
But
the
if
can on him, but it's also preservation for just giving up entire rights to it.
Which is kind of what we've been doing for the past 5 years.
I get it.
But again, it's not up to me. So just because that's an option I wouldn't choose, I don't get to choose it.
Get it.
So, yeah, so that's when we present to them. So basically, we're doing the research and then we're gonna go back to the select board and be like, well, you can do all the things you were thinking about doing, but here's the research to say that you can do this way and this way and this way, I think is what we need to do.
Yeah, and like I mean, I think we're coming up with feasibilities here, like in thinking about like,
Yeah.
well, if you choose this option, you can, and here's what it's going to cost.
Right.
Or or this actually isn't an option, it turns out you can't do this thing.
Right.
What you could do.
Right.
And I think it's coming back, I think.
Or you can do this thing you couldn't. You didn't
Exactly,
think you could.
or you can do this now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So to itemize that on the keep options, we really have two, right? If we keep it, we're either gonna lease it and we don't know who to. It could be a 501(c), it could be $1 a year, it could be, or it's mothball.
Yeah.
And then I don't think we have any other recommendations on keep.
Agreed.
Sell.
I think we're.
We have no recommendation of keeping it.
Agreement about that.
Yeah, of keeping it
I have a
and
third.
we run it somehow in some manner, like it's either keep and mothball or keep and lease and make someone else responsible for it. Yeah,
Are we talking about subdividing and then keeping it or keeping or?
well, I think that would depend on what
On
happens
mixed
with the
use
church.
property.
No, I would say, don't bother with the
Yeah,
subdivide
the
because it's gonna
reason's gonna-
cost money
Yeah,
if you're gonna mothball.
yeah.
If you're gonna lease it, then you might, no, actually, why would we have to do that?
Well,
No, we would have to.
it's
I don't think we
Able to
would have
lease
to.
it, we don't have
It does
to.
depend on what happens with the church, and because if the church does end up, I mean, if the church ends up winning that litigation and then they own the church, then we have the subdivision issue. Because then they own the land that the town office is on.
Arguably, they own the land that the church is on.
Yeah, that ruling I would think would come with.
Yes,
being
I think
separate.
there was
Someone would still have to subdivide, someone would have to pay for subdividing.
that is one of the requests the church, as I recall, the church is making of the court it's a deck action. Right, asking for a declaratory action opinion from the court about ownership,
Based on
About-
a statute that indicates.
based on a couple of things, yes.
The statute that the limitation ran out. The town didn't act,
Right,
so And I believe the judge found that that's a valid argument and that the church does have a claim. So,
The court has found that the church can proceed with that. And so the town tried to get rid of that claim, like tried to, the town was not successful and the church was able to proceed. Exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So no ruling, but they didn't rule it out.
Exactly. They're saying, no, this is live. This is a live
It's a
avenue that we
valid
have to
argument.
pursue. Yep.
Yeah, but we're not ruling.
And we have to like hear the arguments around it and then make a decision. So, yeah, but with that would come, I think, again, this is, I think, what we were talking about last time, clarity.
It's also tricky because you're in this middle of this litigation and then we have an election coming up in March, which could potentially have 3 new people on the board. It's like, that's the thing about proceeding with anything like that. In a municipality, it just,
How this also interesting.
yeah. I mean, it's the same thing on a national level too, so, you know.
Well, on the cell options, the cell option, underneath that option, we have both the quitclaim and the, and the just open sale.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And,
there's
and
other
auction,
things that go into
open
that.
sale and an auction. is the-
Oh, that's true. Yeah, auction. I didn't write that one down.
And then keep is mothball or, lease.
Yeah.
And options for demolishing. I feel like we don't even give them that as an option because none of us feel we should, that's what we should do. So we are the committee and we're in agreement, the 4 of us, that demolishing is not what we would recommend.
I would say that demolish would not be the first option,
Right.
but I wouldn't take it off the table because if you can't sell it, now we're back to
Sure.
square one.
Of course, and they can do whatever they want to do, but I'm talking about what our recommendation as the committee to the board would not include demolishing.
Well, I'm not sure that's true.
Okay.
It might be, that's not my first recommendation. My first recommendation is to sell, but if you can't sell it, now you have to do something else.
Uh-huh.
And that's where we might disagree.
Yeah.
I think we all agree that we want to sell it.
Uh-huh,
And then,
or lease it.
and maybe some of us think we should lease it.
I think that. I do think it is an option. Yeah, I think it is.
But if those 2 things fall in, then I think it's not a take it off the table. It's not the primary option. It's
So as the committee, we would say, as your final, if nothing else, if none of these other things work, then demolish it.
Well, I think that's where I might disagree with some of the people. I want to sell first
Yeah.
and my second would be demolish.
I agree.
I think other
Oh,
people
oh.
sell first, then keep or lease or as a second option. So I think our second,
I understand what
is we're not in.
No, I'm actually with you. I am not in, I appreciate you saying that, but I am not in the lease or keep at all. I'm not in the mothball or keep. I'm in the sell.
I think part of the reason, yeah, and you're right. I think that's really well put. For you, that is much more feasible, the
Yeah.
demolish potential.
I see.
And I feel like I would rather mothball it than demolish it.
Right.
But also part of that, my thinking around that comes from the fact I'd want to know what we were demolishing it for first. Like
Mhm.
that might be the sort
Or
of
like
thing
what's gonna come.
that could potentially.
That it's
We're gonna
a big plan of demolition.
Yeah,
create.
what would replace it?
I also feel like this should go to a town vote. That I very strongly feel like it should go to a town vote in the end, and I don't think that 5 elected select people should make this decision. So,
The other, I'm sorry, under cell, I forgot to mention that,
Mm.
is because we did have quit claim in there too.
yeah,
So on a quit claim, it would be, if it can't sell, quit claim might be our second option.
Mhm.
And then we start talking about, well, do we keep it and lease it or do we demolish it?
Mm.
So if we can't sell it, is quit claim still an option? And is that actually our second option?
Yeah, and what's the difference really? I mean, quit claiming is just, you don't have to go through realtors and all of that, but in the end, what is the difference between selling and quit claiming?
Who do you give it to? The selling
You can
is,
choose.
selling is
You
we have to,
have to just-
somebody has to make an offer.
And then a quit claim
And the
is,
quit claim is.
that the town could say, we want X to receive this, so we would like to quit claim it to X. Okay,
Yes.
all right.
So I think that means we're all agreed that selling is our best option.
Yeah.
And that's where the agreement stops. So, is that correct?
Except I don't think, I don't think we're in disagreement. I think
Disagree.
not, we're not in agreement of prioritize, of which, how to prioritize that. Maybe let's all move on that for 2 weeks and then come back.
I think that I would like to, it would be helpful for me to understand where I am thinking about ranking to find out if it is leasable.
Yeah.
I am curious about that.
So let's do that research. Let's come back with those answers next meeting. And that might be our last meeting, because I think that our next meeting, if we have those answers, I think we can actually come up with our recommendations. So I think the next meeting should be a work session of how we write up the recommendations. Does everyone agree with that? And then I would ask, I mean, no one's on Zoom, but if anyone watches this, I would say, please email us with your thoughts on this.
Yeah,
so that,
I think that's a healthy goal.
Um,
Have the next meeting be our last meeting.
yeah,
I
I think it's reasonable. I mean, we can just hammer this to death.
I don't want to, and yes, that's true. I'm thinking we probably need at least 2 more meetings.
Okay.
We need to, at the next meeting, know what we're going to recommend.
Answer the questions.
And to answer those questions. And then
The
our
follow-
last meeting would be
Okay,
the presentation that we're going to give to the board.
All right.
Something like that.
I think that's a good idea.
I think that's right.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay, so let's do that. We're gonna have 2 more meetings. Next meeting will be answering those questions. And then the one after that, we're gonna come up with our wording of our recommendation.
I do think that with recommendations, including the recommendation as well, putting it to a vote.
Yes,
That is another option.
yeah. Oh. But what do you put to a vote? Like, I mean, that's where, like, I think it does need to go to a vote. I think our recommendation is that,
That would be 2 different things to vote on potentially, right? Like people could choose if they wanted to, I mean, it would just be like a simple tallying, right? Like, do you want to sell the property or do you want the town to maintain the property? You know, I mean, I think it would be, I think it
simple.
could be drafted in a way that would be like really complicated and would confuse people, or I think it could be.
well, it
drafted
can
really
always, it can also be an advisory vote.
What I'm saying is like, if it were to go for a vote, and I would like to do that too, like making sure that it's really straightforward.
Yeah,
The language.
it can't be like this, here's A, B, C, and then list your, no, it has to be like this or
People need
this.
to know what they're voting.
But it can also be an advisory vote that the select board does not have to, I mean, there was a vote to bring in a town administrator. We still don't have one. And, but that was an advisory vote.
When
But
we
it
voted, when we
wasn't a-
voted for this building here,
That
it
was
was
more,
with the belief that we were gonna sell it and vacate it, or vacate it and then sell it.
yes,
You know,
Yeah,
so the town already voted on vacate and sell it.
I wish that had been in your language, right? It would be so much easier now if that had been included as part of the vote.
Right.
If that had just been included in the very beginning.
it was
Well,
implied.
people that I talked to
Yeah,
mentioned that that is what they,
there's a lot of cells
Oh, yeah.
here. People saying
That was their understanding, that was our understanding, but I don't think it was the wording.
It wasn't the
I
wording.
think if you put it out to a vote, it would be overwhelming. So
Oh, I,
I think it would,
Yeah.
well, I think I've been wrong on elections before.
Let's see, right, I mean, really? You've always been right?
Well, there wasn't one time I thought.
These, what? Yes, yes, there was that overwhelming overthrowing of an ordinance.
Yeah, no.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes, yes.
Yeah.
I had a thought, I think it would be helpful, for me, it's often very hard to find all this information on our website. You know, yes, that might be true that most people are for selling those. But I think it would be nice if we could avoid some kind of, you know, the feuding over it because of misinformation.
100%.
So I just would, you know, I would love it if we could just get the information out there and say, all of this is actually in.
Yeah.
Here, and here, and please read this, this, and this.
Yeah, so you may not have been here yet when we said all of the research that we did, that we've gotten our emails. I've asked Kate to put it
Right.
in the packet with
Yeah.
all of our minutes.
Yeah.
So anyone who wishes
We
to
make-
read the minutes.
Right, and any recommendations that we make, I think that it sounds to me like we all agree that we want to reduce that to like a document. Something to hand to the select board.
Yeah.
That way it's concrete enough that everyone who lives here also can read it as well.
Yeah,
And then I would strongly encourage, like, whenever that's presented to the select board, that folks show up, right, who do have an opinion, a strong opinion about this one or another. Again, I think people should use every opportunity to exercise their voice.
and I think get the word out, because I have to say that people don't show up. We have our March elections and 300 people vote. So, I would love to see 800 people vote this March. Come vote. I don't care who you vote for. I do, but I'm not gonna tell you what I think about who you vote for, but vote. We get to vote for our elected officials.
Okay, I think
So great, super. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I'll move to adjourn this meeting.
I'll second it.
And we are done. Thank you, everybody.